bullseye.
BLC Podcast: The History of Apple. Apple is considered one of the most important companies in the world nowadays. It has been founded by Steve Jobs in his parents' garage together with his best friend, Steve Wozniak. In the beginning, they just worked together on some electronics. Woz was an engineer and knew how to create some interesting things about the electronics. Jobs, before funding Apple, worked for Atari and helped to develop some interesting projects as well. When they started Apple, they decided to call some friends to work together with the time. Therefore, by the end of the project, they had created the Apple I, which sold only a few computers and was not such a great success. Then they kept up working, and after some years, the company started to grow and become important in the computer area. In 1984, Jobs introduced the Macintosh, one of the most revolutionary computers of that time. It was relatively successful and sold a good number of samples. However, when Jobs decided to hire John Sculley, a successful executive from Pepsi, he didn't know what was going to happen. In the beginning, things went well, but little by little, their ideas started to diverge and began a dispute to see who was going to be the big cheese of the company. In the end, Sculley won the battle and Jobs was fired from his own company. Some years after being fired from Apple, Steve Jobs decided to start over and created two new companies. Next, a company specialized in developing educational software, and Pixar, an animation studio which created the incredible movie Toy Story. In 1997, Apple was in a terrible situation and Jobs returned to the company to help it come back to success. He was successful and introduced some important products for the company, such as the iMac, among others. He also presented in 2001 the iPod, which would revolutionize the market of music. But the most remarkable event of Steve Jobs at Apple is maybe the introduction of the iPhone, because it completely changed the way people see cell phones, as they could do almost anything just like a computer. Steve Jobs still had time to launch another revolutionary product, the tablet. It sold many samples around the world, and Apple took over this market. After Jobs' death, Apple has still been considered one of the most important companies in the world, launching now amazing iPhones, but they have to work really hard if they want to keep themselves on the top for many more years.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.